Shenne is a liberation-focused healer, speaker, and writer. She is a licensed professional counselor who specializes in holding space for pregnant and postpartum folks. Shenne is committed to helping Black mothering folks to ground in their evolving identity and empowering them to mother on their terms. Shenne's pronouns are she, her, hers. She identifies as cisgendered, Black African-American, spiritual, heterosexual woman. Shenne is a mother of 2 children and on a journey of unschooling and conscious parenting. Shenne was called to this work after experiencing a high-risk pregnancy that placed her on hospital bed rest for a month. She is always learning about her spiritual beingness, and now she can bring more spiritual gifts into her work. She is from Sacramento, California, and currently lives near Atlanta, Georgia. Since Shenne was a child, she has been passionate about giving people space to be seen and heard. She recently learned from her own ancestral work that she comes from a lineage of healers. Shenne is the founder of a private online counseling practice serving folks in Georgia and Florida. She has a license in professional counseling in the state of Georgia and is a registered out-of-state counselor for the state of Florida. Shenne graduated from Nova Southeastern University with a master's degree in mental health counseling and the University of North Florida with a bachelor's degree in psychology. Shenne has worked in the mental health field as a case manager and counselor for over 15 years, serving predominantly Black children, parents, and family. Shenne received specialized training in perinatal mental health from Postpartum Support International. She has been trained to decolonize therapy for Black folks with Shenne Murray Brown and remains growing in the therapy that liberates community. She is currently processing her frustration with the ways her traditional education was colonized and whitewashed. Shenne is on a journey of unlearning and relearning her Black and African healing practices for her own growth and beginning to incorporate it more and more into her healing work. Shenne Bend.
Okay, there we go. Hey, y'all. So as you focus on clearing your generational trauma, do not forget to claim your generational strengths. Your ancestors gave you more than just wounds. That's a quote from Xavier Dagba. Hello, everybody. I am thrilled. I am so honored here. I'm Shenne Bend. I just can't thank PSI Georgia enough for allowing me to be in this space and to talk about something that's so near and dear to my heart and that I'm very, very passionate about. I want to give a special shout out to Keisha Reeves, who individually invited me here with PSI Georgia, and to Northside Hospital, because that's where I was on my pregnancy bed rest. And really, it's what ultimately led me into this work. So today I will be speaking about the baseline that I believe is so pivotal for Black folks, period. And very specifically to those who are pregnant in their postpartum period. So today I'll be speaking about the solutions and the empowerment. And I know some of y'all that know me, who've seen me on Instagram, I kind of rant on, you know, the trash of the delusional white supremacy, capitalism, and patriarchy. But today I really want to lean into what are the solutions, what are the empowerments? This is where we're at. These are the systems that we're under. And so how can we survive and even thrive being in these systems? I'm very, very, very passionate about the healing for Black folks, the liberation for Black people. And I really am passionate about serving Black women, Black folks who are in their postpartum journey and just experiencing the stress. So again, thank you just for holding the space for me. So I want to reflect on some notes as we get into it. So some of what I'll be talking about is the framework that comes from Shenne Murray Brown, her training in decolonizing therapy books. So all of my healers here, especially if you're a counselor, therapist, I highly recommend that you take this training if you are holding space for folks who are Black, just to learn the ways that our mental health field in general is colonizing Black healing practices for us. So I'll be using some of this as a framework. You'll notice that I use words books, and I'll say she and woman and they and parents and birthing person and person with a womb and Black person with a womb. And this is out of my habit of using more affirmative and inclusive language to include folks who don't identify as woman, may not identify as mother. So that is for my trans persons, non-binary folks who are in this space, and folks who just don't identify with those particular terms. I want to highlight and define what liberation focus means. So I lean onto that title heavily. And so for me, that means I'm not looking at what is wrong with you. And I want to pause there for a moment. Nothing is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you, okay? So what I'm looking at is what has happened to you. What has happened to you, your family, your ancestry, what has happened? What is happening to you now that you're living under these systems and living in America as a Black person who's just trying to raise your, trying to give birth and want to be safe in doing so? I want to pull a quote from Nadra Glover Tawwab. She had an interview, and the interviewer was asking her, how many people, what percentage of people do you think are dealing with anxiety? And she said 100%. And I clutched my pearls at first. I was like, and I paused and I thought, she's absolutely right. And I do believe she's right. And I want to extend that to say that just mental health issues in general, you can't live in these systems like this, especially as a Black person, a Black woman, and not be disrupted in some ways. Maybe some of us know how to make it look good, make it look successful, but we all have our own different struggles. So that's really a shorter summary of like what liberation focus means. I want to give a special shout out to my Caribbean folks, my Latinx folks who are also in this space. I will be leaning more into the African healing practices and some Black healing practices. And I think you'll find that we have a lot of similarities. And so I just wanted to say those words out. So as I was saying, I'm going to spend some time talking about African traditional spiritual practices. And I want you guys to understand that the way that even was colonized. From slavery, it was very, very much deemed to be demonic or crazy, some of these practices. Thinking back to what I've learned about the times we were enslaved, and it was banned for us to be in our prayer houses, yet those white colonizers and white enslavers would also seek guidance from our spiritualists. So they understood the power of what I'm talking about. And so I just wanted to say that up front, because some of what you might hear, you might be like, oh, Shenne, I don't know, that's a little, I heard it was this, but just sit with that and just do your own research. I'm going to give you plenty of resources with this. And it's not at all to replace religious practices that you have. I think you'll find it really complements them very well. Okay, so I want to start with the first one is embodied healing. I'll be talking about embodied healing, identity, and ending with grounded village. So the embodied healing, imperative, the ways that we've historically been disembodied and the ways that we are in present day, right? So back to slavery, like literally working us to our demise, working us until muscles are becoming detached, right? And then pulling that into present day, how being a Black person here in this capitalistic society, where capitalism is basically giving like work until you die. Like that's the energy that it's giving. So it's not caring about if you're sick, not feeling well, if you're not feeling up to par. It's really just wanting to work you past how you feel in your body. And then you bring in pregnancy in your postpartum period, right? And so don't eat this, don't drink that, don't do this. That's not good for the baby if you do X, Y, Z, right? And part of you're deciding to breastfeed and that whole journey, it really gets one to feel like your body is not your own. You're feeling some detachment, and in some ways not feeling safe with that, especially as we're engaging with the hospital systems, right? So embodied healing is about mind, body, spirit connection, heavy on the spirit, and I'll say why in a moment, and engaging most of our senses. Okay, so all of our senses really is where that deep part can come. So this embodied healing is really important to keep us grounded, keep us present. It's very much a mindful practice technique, and I heard somebody mention how pivotal that is for our treatment and our healing in general. And I say heavy on the spirit because I will think to myself, how are we still here as Black folks? How? Everything that we've been through, the atrocities, and still to this day, we are here because I believe it is because of our spirituality. I don't think we would have made it or continue to make it. So that's why I say heavy on spirit. So I have a practice I want us to try, and it's rocking. So for the next minute, you can rock side by side or forward and backwards. And just for the next minute, you can hold yourself or not. Rocking side to side, asking yourself, how is my body feeling in this moment? Okay. How is my body feeling in this moment? As you're doing this, you might notice a memory come up of thinking about your elders, your grandmother, how you would see them do this. Babies do it instinctually. They know that they need it to self-soothe, to help them to calm and relax. When you reflect on seeing any kind of documentaries about when we were enslaved as people, the rocking was how labor and engage in our hard labor. And it was a way that we stayed connected to know that we're not alone in this and we can get through this, right? And so, and there's some deep science behind rocking as well, okay? It is very much settling for the vagus nerve. It helps to calm the fight or flight that can come up for us. So as pregnant persons, postpartum, we can get frustrated, we can get irritated, right? With especially with the ways that patriarchy work and us feeling like we have all things and a baby and birth a baby, right? And some anxiety can come up. So this is really great practice to keep in on the moment when you're feeling this emotion come up, and just a practice to incorporate. So I know some of y'all have a rocking chair in your nursery, not just for the baby, use it for you. So just take some time to sit in that rocking motion and relax. I wanted to recommend a resource on Instagram. They're called Unearth and Bloom. And they are a set of twins, Black women who are therapists, and they have a rock and hum workshop that's coming up very soon. So follow them, get on so you can really embody this tool. The next one that I'll mention is womb meditation. So again, a mindfulness practice, but very specific to your womb. There was a panelist was speaking about Dr. Ian Sims and the harm that he did to our bodies and mutilation to our enslaved ancestors. So some historic traumas to our wombs. Then there's some wounds for us personally in our lives. Some of us, many of us here have experienced abuse. And it's very pivotal to get these womb meditations, especially as you're thinking about becoming pregnant or trying to become pregnant, to have some healing. But it's also great if you're pregnant and your postpartum period. There's so many different experiences along the way, including birth trauma, miscarriages, and I would say also infertility, because of the shame and the guilt and those thoughts and energy that you'll send to your womb. It's very important to get that cleared up. So this, there's a YouTube video, and it's from Heal, Travel, Love. If you follow her on YouTube, she has a meditation that's very specific to womb meditation. It's a visualization technique. With that, you're gonna cry, just so you know, you're gonna cry, and it's okay. But it's super healing, especially the more you do that. And I also wanted to highlight Queen Afua. You can follow, that's Queen AFUA. She has a womb care love available online if you go to her link tree. And she also has an amazing book that has some of these practices that I'm mentioning, called Sacred Woman. It's like a 500-page Bible, basically, of African healing tools and indigenous healing techniques. Highly recommend that book. And the next one, and last but not least for this embodied healing, is spiritual bath. So there's a lot of let's just think about water, first of all. Water is how we're here. Water is all around us, 70% of it in our body. We came from a water womb to be here, right? We're creating a water womb to birth life. And so it's super imperative that we can go back to that in a very intentional and spiritual way. It's connected to our ancestry, in our churches, our baptisms, the ways that enslaved folks would sneak away to go to the swamps to still have their baptism and engage in spiritual practices with the water, the way our folks would jump ship and say, I don't want none of this enslavement stuff. I can't do it, and not gonna do it. And that they knew that there was such a strong spiritual connection there. So these are basically baths that you pray over. Baths that you set strong intentions with your words. Our words are so powerful, so powerful. For you to decide, hey, I'm tired of feeling depressed. I just want to clear this depression from me. Me and my partner going through it. He's not understanding. They're not understanding that I'm not the cook and the chef and the maid. I'm mom, right? And so you just deciding that you want to clear some energy, you want to clear some thoughts, you want to clear a mood from you. It's very powerful. I've had folks I hold space for where it's been, our therapy work has been one thing, and then those spiritual baths have been a whole different transformational experience. And so I want to give you another resource, Juju Bae, that's Juju BAE. She has a podcast that's called A Little Juju, and she talks more about spiritual baths, tells other herbs and ointments you can add to it. Engage all the senses with it. So if it's that Epsom salt and the candle and some smell goods and some oils, but definitely make it a sensual experience as well. For myself, I just get every inch of my body and send gratitude to every inch of my body. And especially for the womb area too, paying special attention there. And so for also to know, other healers are very imperative for this space. As I mentioned in the summary here, traditional counseling is not going to cut it for us. We need a lot more supports for our thriving, to get to our thriving space. So looking out, doing research about herbalists, acupuncturists, spiritualists, really seeing how you can get a full mind-body experience as you're doing the hugest stressor and transition of your life, bringing in life, bringing in more life. A doula should be a requirement for every Black birthing person. I have a very strong opinion about this. Doulas are amazing. I wish I would have had one. So I preach it, and will preach it to the day I die with that. Especially if you're gonna be in a hospital system, it is so crucial. And I would also add to highly consider giving birth at home. Talking to your doula, if you're low risk in a pregnancy, just look into it at least. Figure out how that can happen, because we hear about these hospitals, right, what they're doing. The other piece with this is a large piece, the embodied healing, super important, is I wanted to mention the Baleke people of Cameroon. And one of their practices that they've had, and they still continue to this day, is they bury the umbilical cord of the baby of the tree where their ancestors are from. Our ancestors are very important, have always been, and are imperative for our healing going forward. There's so many different ways that you can choose to engage with your ancestors. If that is just paying respects and homage to them, if that is looking for historical figures such as Maya Angelou, and we all kind of claim her and Bell Hooks, right? That we all claim them like that those are our ancestors, and how we can reflect on their lives and reading their autobiographies and connecting with them, reaching out to your elders in your life, your grandparents, your grandmothers in your life, and seeing what words of wisdom they had. Now, they had some practices, that was a little, about that, grandma, but but sometimes it will give you some wisdom, and in the moment it won't feel like it's helpful. But as you're engaging in this parenthood journey even more, it'll start to click like, oh, she did say I need to go ahead and sit down. So really leaning into that is so crucial. And then there are folks who have ancestral altars who really deepen that work even more, of like how they commune, pay respects, pray with. And it just really allows you to feel even more rooted in that you're not alone out here. Okay. And Jujube is also a great resource to learn more about ancestral altar if you're interested in that. Now, the next one is your identity. Again, major life transition. One of the biggest stressors statistically in anybody's life is giving birth, becoming a parent. I want to highlight the Superwoman Schema. This concept was developed by a Black psychologist, and it's basically the ways as Black women in particular that we don't honor ourselves, that we don't allow ourselves to be vulnerable, that we feel obligated to help everybody else, that we just feel this hyper independence, that it has to be us, that we have to do it alone, even if we have limited resources. And this stems again from our trauma with enslavement, that we were actually, I was having this thought today, highly valued as mothers because we breastfed the white babies and we were left to care for the white babies, right? And so how that really connects to our mothering journey, our parenting journey, where we will further isolate, we will further be independent. Well, my mama did everything, my grandma did everything. And I just wanted to share with you that I just don't believe that it's sustainable, especially for our mental wellness, especially for our general wellness, to lean into just doing it all by ourselves. And especially the ways I'll get into like patriarchy and how we're not just mothers out here, right? We are pressured and socialized to do so many other duties. There's a TikTok I want to share from a woman named Diamond Ritter. And she says, I'm paraphrasing, I'm a damsel in distress. I'm not a strong Black woman. And she says, I am capable, I can do it all by myself, but I don't want to. And there's something that just warmed my heart when I heard that. And I had to share that because I just love the concept. And I think if more of us lean into that, especially as a collective, that there could be a lot of power in realizing that it's okay for us to get assistance and help and full support. The cooking and cleaning is not just for us. I was just watching the Kanye special on Netflix, and they were talking about his mom and, oh, she sacrificed everything. And, you hear it on the Hallmark card. She did everything and sacrificed, gave up on her dreams. And I don't want us to claim that anymore. I don't want, being a mother is a role, and you can still be who you are in the different ways that you will change, but separating that out. So I wanted to recommend creating a video diary of, and asking yourself, who am I today? How am I different through the seasons, especially thinking about the different milestones of your baby and how are you different? So it could just really, a video diary is just you recording yourself on your cell phone and playing it back to yourself, seeing yourself, hearing yourself, and allowing yourself to just still be who you are in the ways that you'll change and fully lean into that support. Okay, and I'll talk more about what that support is going to look like, your identity. Okay, standing strong in that. Where's that baby coat at? Grounded village. This is how I will end and wrap up. And I just had to highlight that. I love that meme coming up. Where's that baby's coat at? And it just reminds me how us as Black folks, we are concerned about other folks' babies. Are they warm? Are they well? What's happening there? And, granted, some of it is a judgy tone towards the mother or the parent, but some of it is an actual legitimate, how can we make sure that our babies around us are well? We haven't lost that. This society that we live in has us leaning into Eurocentric tendencies, such as being more individualistic. And it's not to say to let that go, because it is pivotal to our survival, especially when attracting more money, especially when we think about being business owners of so there's some ways that it can be helpful, but sometimes we can lead so heavily in that side that we become less communal, which is so attached to our Blackness and our Africanness. I shared on my Instagram at Pregnancy Therapist information about the Maasai tribe of Kenya. And what I thought was so beautiful about them, the midwives will travel, they will walk 8 to 10 miles to come to a birth. And the whole tribe and community, they come in. The women come in, they will cook and clean and give money to the baby. They will massage the mother for months after the baby is there. After the baby is born, I was just thinking first of all, I wish I would have hit on it when I think back. And I'm wondering how we can do that for ourselves. How can we lean more into that? So for one, I think there needs to be a different way that we reimagine the baby registry, and that it's becoming more of a family registry. So instead of it just, I want y'all to put in the comments, those who are mothers and parents now, if you agree with what I'm saying, just put a yes. You don't need half the stuff you think you need for the baby and the tools and the gadgets. You don't need half of what you think you need. So those who are pregnant and coming newer into parenthood, just keep that there. So I say that to lean into a family registry. What are the ways that we can support the parent, the Black birthing parent, that Black woman, and the baby, the family and the baby, that baby's mother, the mother, the father, the parent of that baby, their mental wellness. How can we save them time so they could sleep as much as possible? So that is key. So the house needs to be cleaned, laundry needs to be done, food needs to be cooked. And so how can we support all of that to be done? So can it be looking at your local Black laundry care, local meal prep, local Black owned maid service, right? And seeing how can you get a gift card? How can you have your friends, family, co-workers contribute to those gifts, being part of that family registry? And it doesn't always have to be cash money. It could be if you have folks around you who are willing to offer, hey, I'll wash your clothes for the next month. I wash my clothes every Wednesday. I'll come by. I'll come get your clothes. I know you might not want to put the drawers and everything in there, but that you can just create a system of, keeping the pandemic in mind, right? That if you have somebody in your life who loves to cook, that they will offer to bring some meals and put it in the cooler outside. And so just remembering that there's more to just the baby registry, that the full wellness of the family is imperative. Also, a grounded village, connecting, deepening your relationships. Support groups. PSI has an amazing group of Black Mamas Matter, and I highly recommend that you get into that space. The Peanut app is really cute. It's somewhat newer app. It's kind of like a Tinder for moms. You can kind of swipe left, swipe right of those who you connect with, or if you have babies or the children of the same age. They have a clubhouse, kind of clubhouse style, what do you call it? Like an audio where you can kind of chime into other topics that mothers and parents are talking about. They have some amazing spaces there. And ends up being some really healing conversations that happen. Your local library, they have pre-K, they have baby spaces for the libraries, opportunity for you to meet other mothers and other parents. It's crucial. And also, just keeping in mind that you have so much more support than you realize. And I know some of y'all are like, no, Shenne, I don't. Or no, I don't like asking for help, or it's hard to ask for help. And I hear you and I see you. Some of what I've shared today, there might be some other blocks that are coming up for you of like, Shenne, you don't know my situation. I can't do this or that because of X, Y, Z. Some belief systems about whether you're valuable enough or worthy enough to really lean into this. Reach out to me. Reach out to me for a consultation. So I am currently accepting new clients and new folks to hold space for, and I'd be so honored to be able to serve your needs. And I want to see if we have any questions, as I want to refer to that. Let's see if there's any questions. Okay, so I have a question here. What was the framework? So the framework that I was referring to is from Shenne Murray Brown, and she has a training that's called Decolonizing Therapy for Black Folks. And I was highly recommending that for all healers, especially those who are therapists and counselors. And this next one I have, how can we eliminate this, that Black Superwoman syndrome? It's a practice, it's a journey. That could easily be like 6 whole therapy sessions with that. It's really leaning into, actually have somebody holding space where I recommended this, of the little small ways that you're supported. Like, folks will say, hey, can I help you with those bags? We'd be like, no, I got it. No, thank you. I appreciate that. So getting into a practice of just accepting help and saying yes and forcing yourself to do that and reflecting with yourself. How does your body feel with that? Like, oh, I feel a little tension. I didn't really want to do that. I like doing things for myself. I don't want to depend on people, right? Just hearing the inside of yourself just screaming, but still start with those small things. And I think you'll find that as you build up that muscle, it will get easier for the bigger things to receive support. And I think that's the biggest thing with the Superwoman schema, just want to do it all by yourself and not wanting to accept that support. And that is it, I guess. Are there any more questions? That's a hard one, but understood. Yes. It can be difficult. Okay, I see a question here. Okay, I'm sorry, that was a question for, I believe, the panelists. And all right, well, I'm all done. Thank you. Okay, one more question. What was the YouTube channel you mentioned for womb healing? That is called Heal, Travel, Love. And that is about a 2-minute womb meditation. Super, super powerful. I tried it myself, highly recommend to other folks. Maria wants to ask you a question. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I get to come on screen with you, beautiful. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation and all of that great insight. I had a question specifically as it relates to self-care. Can you talk just about some lifestyle adjustments that we can work on as it relates to improving our mental health, better sleep, diet, exercise, and a little bit about your own self-care routine?
Okay, yes, those are all imperative across the board. Just getting in, I mean, as basic as it sounds, but more fruits and vegetables for your diet, really leaning into other practitioners who do that. So here in Atlanta area, we have a woman called the Vitamin Lady. So she's been pivotal for my transformation as far as like what I'm eating and really just realizing the chemistry of my body is not like everybody else's. And so that's been imperative for my self-care. Sleep. So what I mentioned about like why that community and that village support is so pivotal, so you can sleep. you need to get some paper plates for a few months, do it. You should not be trying to worry about washing dishes and those details like that. Having folks to come in and help you clean the house so that you can get as much rest as you possibly can. Having your support, your partner person, laying out the responsibilities before baby gets here. And I know with our cisgendered heterosexual males, it could be a challenge because of the way that patriarchy serves them in believing that they don't have to do all things. So that's imperative as well. And so my own self-care, I do spiritual baths once a week. Those are pivotal. I have my own ancestral altar. It's been life shifting and changing for myself. I make sure that I'm getting as much sleep as possible. I love listening to sermons online. Sarah Jakes Roberts, love her. So I just really kind of flow with my mood, what my mood is like in the morning. So sometimes I want to stretch and exercise, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just want to write in my journal. So it just really depends.
I love that. I love that. And it's really great to have some insight on your own self-care routine. And those are some really great ideas, journaling, you know, self-care music. Music is just so powerful. So thank you so much. And this was such a great way to wrap up the summit. Continued blessings to you. And we look forward to all of the great things that you'll continue to do, Shenne. Thank you
so much. I really appreciate you all.